Hello, hello, my friend.
Hello.
You're calling in from a whole different state
I
today. Where are you for today's Friday lesson here?
I am in Illinois with my very first grandchild. She is 3.5 months old today. She
Oh
is
my
currently
God.
napping. We'll see if she makes it to the call.
I was gonna say, do we get a sneak peek or not?
This is the first day that grandma here gets to have the whole day with just me and baby. So
Oh,
I don't have a backup plan.
you don't need a backup plan. You've raised multiple children,
I
so
have.
you're
I'm good. We're good. We got
It's been a
this.
minute. It's been a minute since you've had a baby, but yeah, you know what you're doing.
My youngest is 25, so it's been a while.
Oh my gosh. Well, we're so glad that you're joining us today for another Friday of diving deep and really thinking about what it means to create an unstoppable brand. And that's what we're all about here at Left Right Labs, coming together, answering the questions that we get throughout the week, and really helping you think about how to consider your brand differently. And
Mhm.
so today, what I wanted to talk about is actually what we would call the silent brand killer. Now, if you have any guesses about what that might be, it's actually really about inconsistency. The things that we don't do enough of in our brand, the things that we're only doing sporadically. So that's what we want to chat about today. What are those things that cause inconsistency in our brand that unfortunately are silently killing it? And how can we build more trust and more credibility? So that's what we're going to dive deep into today, because we're definitely all about um, building that trust. So, thinking about why inconsistency undermines your trust to begin with. When we think about inconsistency, it really means that confusion is happening. So if we told our audience, as an example, that, hey, we're going live every Friday afternoon at this exact time, and we only actually did that once a month, or it happened every couple
Right.
of
Yeah.
Fridays, that automatically drops our brand follow through, our brand trust, right? So that is something that is a way to consider. And I bet if you thought about it, you could probably think about some brands that you were originally really excited to engage with, that just all of a sudden something happened and they weren't living up to that expectation. And think about that for you. Like, I an example I use a lot, and I'm really sorry, internet companies, but
Mhm.
it is what it is. If we all thought of our local internet company when I was living in Illinois, it was a brand that started with a C. I won't even name the name, to be honest, but
Nope.
everybody knew. Like, you said that name, and it was just this audible groan, not even an inward groan. It
Yep.
was an audible groan, because the things that brand promised and how it actually delivered were two very extremely different things. That's not the reputation or the consistency that you want to have. The consistency should not be very inconsistent. So we really got to rely on showing up and following through on our word with our brand, because what that does is that consistency really leads to confidence. It means that people are going to start saying, okay, they are living up to what they say they're going to do. It means that if I can trust that they're showing up every week for their live, or if I can trust that this company is actually going to deliver my products on time, then
Mhm.
that means I can trust to maybe purchase another product, or to schedule another session, or to book another doctor's appointment, or whatever the thing is for your brand, right? But there's that saying, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yep.
And so it's all those little micro steps that we might personally think, no one's paying attention to that. But honey, that's how they're getting started.
Yep.
So we got to make sure that we're not sending mixed signals out there and giving people a reason not to trust our brand. So I think that consistency portion is a really, really big part of that. Is there anything around consistency that kind of stands out for you, Gretchen?
Well, one thing that I think we all know, but sometimes don't do, is that consistency is what builds brand awareness in repetition.
Yes,
There
100%.
is such a thing as ad fatigue. So we don't want to go too far to the extreme and overpost and overshare and do all that. There, you got to find the balance, and that is possible. But sometimes, especially with inconsistency, that becomes the problem. Is there's not enough brand awareness, there's
Mhm.
not enough visibility in front, and that repetition in front of your ideal client over and over again to just build that brand awareness.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. It makes me think about it's not just in the um we've talked about the small steps because that's where that foundation is built. But then it is also in like the actual delivering of what you're
Mhm.
doing, right? So, we have clients, I'm grateful to say, that have come to us for multiple brands, two, three, four different businesses, because that experience they had the first time was incredible. There might be a brand that you've engaged with. Maybe it's your favorite clothing brand, or it's a local boutique or something like that you always go back to because you know how they make you feel. They're consistent in the quality of their product and in the way that they engage with you and make you, feel when you're actually in the physical space, even. So, those are different ways that consistency can really add up. That's a formula to think about. Like, this is if I'm showing up consistently
Mhm.
here, here, and here, then what that equals is trust. And so that's super important, and that's something that we're really trying to teach people, is that there is an absolute formula for your brand.
Yep.
And I think something that falls in line not only with formulas, but also with consistency as a whole is that, sometimes we run into this situation where we're testing too many things, but we're not actually building trust with that. And trust, you're going to see this show up over and over and over again as
Yeah.
kind of the central theme. Um, Testing different things is good. It gives you information. But if my doctor told me to follow a certain food protocol, right? If they said, okay, you need to be following this protocol right here, and this is going to get you results. And I say, okay, and I follow it for 2 weeks and I'm feeling great. And then I think, maybe I can just make one little shift. Maybe I can add dairy back into my diet, or maybe I can have just a little bit of gluten. No, that all of a sudden I'm going to stop my results that I'm getting,
Yeah.
and I'm just testing too many ideas. So when you think about that as a brand, I see this a lot when clients are trying to figure out who they are. So they don't know how they want to show up with their brand voice or their brand visuals or even their brand personality. That's a rough one. If you're trying on different personalities on different channels, that ultimately doesn't look good for you. So I think that, it matters even when you're testing these ideas, be consistent even in your testing. So if you are trying to gather information and you're trying different brand voices, do that across your whole brand. So all the different touch points, if we think about, I'm not just going to test this on my website, but I'm going to test this also in my social media. I'm going to test this in my online interactions with my audience, or in-person interactions if you have those. And so that's a way to make sure that you're not just throwing spaghetti at the wall, essentially, that you're not just doing one thing here and
Yeah.
something else there and looking messy, because ultimately that ends up diluting the brand. Can you think of any examples, Gretchen, where you've seen that kind of thing happen? It's just been testing something different, or you've experienced it yourself.
Yeah, we've experienced that ourselves just in testing too many things at once. I
Yeah.
will say from the left brain perspective on that, it is challenging when you are testing a lot of things because they all interact. Your social media interacts with your website, and
Yeah.
there's so many different tools that you could use to track. There's Google Analytics, there's Microsoft Clarity, there's Hotjar, there's Crazy Egg. You can go down a long
You're
list.
driving me crazy with all these names.
Right? But when you have all of those tools and all those things at your disposal, and they're all of the social is interacting with the website, which is interacting with how people are coming to your newsletter and what they're clicking on. When you take all that into consideration and you're running all these multiple tests, it can sometimes kind of cross-pollinate the data in a way. I know that's
Yes.
not the right words, but I'm trying to make it for the non-technical people to understand. It is, if you're testing a lot of things, it's sometimes hard to figure out what's working, what isn't, because you've got all these things. we had a call with the client this past week, and we were talking about her marketing sequence and what were we going to do first. And she had all these great ideas of, I want to be here and I want to do this YouTube and I want this podcast and blah, blah, blah. And we were like, whoa, slow down. Let's start with, she had an opt-in, but it wasn't fully optimized. And we were like, let's take this opt-in and let's focus on that. And let's work hard at dialing that in, because she couldn't even tell us like metric wise, what's the percentage of conversions or anything like that. She just like, I have an opt-in and I'm getting some traffic to it. I'm getting some people to convert. And I'm like, well, how many, what's the number? She no idea. So when we can go back to just the one thing, make sure we know everything there is to know about that one path into the brand. Focus on that, get that dialed in, then move on to the next thing. Don't try to have a YouTube and a podcast and a this and a that and the other and not know how any of them are performing, or at least not consistently knowing how they're performing, because you're just going to run around crazy not knowing how to really scale your business.
Well, and I would also say this happens even if you have a really established brand. You know, if maybe you're making a pivot in your business and or you've become really well known. This is an example I've used before, but if you've become really well known in public, you know, you're speaking at an event or people are connecting with you through social media and you're keeping up with that particular platform, that's how people are getting to know you and build that trust, or they've heard you on a podcast or a webinar. But if that trust doesn't follow through down the line, and so maybe you're sending them to a landing page or an opt-in, and it doesn't match what you've actually been saying from stage or from audio, that's a massive one. Because if we really think about today's technology and the way that we engage with brands and then we engage with people, we have most likely heard the people we follow through social media, on a podcast, or at a live event, right? That's the way we're consuming media as a society. So we have to think about the fact that that's the first way they're meeting us. So that's the expectation that we have to live up to. We have this phenomenal client that we've worked with on actually a couple different brands now. And when she came to us, she's already very well established, has a business that's running well, but she just said, I'm working on updating my persona, and I've done it here on my social media, and I've done it here on this online summit that I run, but I'm ashamed to send people to my website.
We hear that a lot. I can't probably out of the last 10 clients we've worked with, I would say at least 8 or 9 of them have just said, yeah, I haven't updated my website in a while. And they're embarrassed by it.
Yeah. And I'd say that's normal because you are keeping up with the day-to-day demands that happen. So it's one of those things that that can unfortunately really be a barrier to trust for your brand when that's not something that you are being consistent with, and making sure that the brand visuals or the brand language or even just the offers, like forget everything else. Let's just get the offer the same. Yeah. Like whatever juicy tidbits you're giving in your talks about, you know, how you can help your potential client, and that's the offer that you're making, it should go back and match the actual offer they're receiving. I ran into this just a week ago. I got a training that I was really excited to run through, and the promotion for this training was basically like you get one little sliver of this person's master training for a very small amount. It was their tripwire in marketing language. It was the small thing they're trying to get you. Yeah. And so, you know, I was really excited because it's helping you tell your story and be able to open your talks better. So I was excited to purchase this thing's program, and it was named something in all of the sales promotions. But when I received it and tried to log in and find it, I couldn't find it anywhere. Well, the program inside is named something completely different. Like once you actually log in and go to take the course, it has a completely different title. Phenomenal information. Like I will continue to interact with this person. I'm trying to take it as, okay, this was a small first step, but I am also a person who is naturally more wired to give someone a second chance. Now, if that had landed in Gretchen's inbox, I think the response might have been a little different.
Yeah, we left brain folks like, you better get it right the first time.
Yeah, you have to think about that, the way that that information is coming across. And the beauty of this is once you dial this in, so like that client that had come to us and she had her brand represented a certain way on her summit and a certain way on social, but not on her website. Once she dialed that in, the percentage of people who said yes and moved into monthly ongoing training with her just soared. It really gave her that chance to go, oh, okay, people are seeing me. They're connecting the dots. They're feeling safe the whole way through. And that means that they trust my brand and ultimately they trusted her. And that gave her the opportunity to boost her income even further, to end up funding the other business that she wanted to do a remake of. So this has real life repercussions for you in negative ways, of course, but also very, very good ways. When you get so good at making your brand consistent, at dialing in that formula of what are all the pieces that I need to be adjusting so that people see it all come together in one big, beautiful puzzle, that equals more time. It equals more money. It equals more freedom for you. So these are things that have really positive repercussions for you when you dial them in as well. And I know a lot of people say, okay, well, how do I actually do this? Like, you're telling me the things to look at that I may have missed or forgotten. And look, as your business is growing, you get pulled in so many more directions. So this is not something to beat yourself up over. If you're running into this, it's actually kind of a good thing because that means your business has grown from where you were originally when you had all the time to keep up with it. But now it's time to double down and to really kind of do a self-assessment to get you started. Step back and do an audit of your own brand, or have your VA help you do that, or a trusted team member, right? Somebody who does have the time if you personally don't, but have them go through and take a look at, okay, when you hear me talk about certain things on this channel, when you hear me talk about things on Instagram, does it match the offers that I'm actually sending people to at the end of that? Or when you hear me giving a speech and I'm directing people toward a next step that they can take with me, do the titles match? There's one for you. Can people take that real next step? And is there anything that you look for, Gretchen, when you're getting ready to do an audit?
The left brain here is going to totally geek out on the AI technology with this, because I actually just did this a few days ago with our brand. I fed AI a bunch of information about some landing pages that we had. And, we're getting ready to launch this unstoppable brand formula, which you'll be hearing some more about this soon. And I was gathering information on it. And I just asked ChatGPT to analyze a bunch of our web pages and some of our social media ads and some of the stuff that we've got out there, and just help me tie it all together. Because I did feel like, there's got to be some inconsistencies here, because we had one funnel that just wasn't performing as well as we thought, and we had another one that was going really well. And it's like, where's the disconnect here? Is it the audience? Is it the ad copy, et cetera? And I just kind of brain dumped into ChatGPT. I told Trina, I said, I use ChatGPT like a therapist. Look, I'm really frustrated because this isn't working in my business. I literally start by saying, you're my business consultant. And I dump. And I just dump. I'm like frustrated by this, and this isn't working, and I can't get this, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm listing off like Facebook is this, and LinkedIn is this, and I just ranted. And I just thought it was going to give me some crap answer, and I was just going to be, whatever, and move on. And it just started asking me a couple questions. I was like, okay, fine, I'll play your game. And I answered the questions, and then it started blowing me away. I've never gotten any better use out of ChatGPT than what I did like 3 days ago. And it said, okay, you're inconsistent over here. And it was literally feeding me back messaging that we had put on a website or on a landing page or a Facebook ad. And it was saying, this doesn't say what you're saying over here. This is, we need to align this, and, and it knew all about our unstoppable brand formula, and it brought all that in. It was just saying, here, you need to change your messaging to this because this aligns with their unstoppable brand formula. And I was just like, oh.
And the beauty, and the beauty of that is you can use tools like that to get you started, but only
right
if you have trained the tool
to
notice the consistency that should be in your brand.
Yeah, that is key.
You do not get that level of feedback if you haven't taken the time to train it. And that's something that you're going to see a sliver of that is included in what we're building with this unstoppable brand formula, is how to educate your AI tools, how to let them see the consistency that should be in your brand. So that helps you get that first level. And even as much as Gretchen has informed it and fed it, it's still, even in that mind-blowing brain dump, you still have to come in and then look at it as an advisor, or have an advisor come in and review it and help you figure out, okay, yes, because it's still not human, right?
Yeah.
So it's doing this from data, which you as the left brain
and it's
absolutely loves. But it gives you that baseline that then, you're able to come back and assess and go, okay, what can I test on my audience from this information? And where can I do this in a closed container? I think I would like to share a little bit about safe ways that you can test new ideas when you're finding them. So, a really good way to do that would be even pitching this almost in like your one-on-one sales calls, framing that, using some new language, seeing how people give feedback. Do they lean in? Do their eyebrows lift up with interest? Do you see them kind of stare into the distance with the thinking wheel, not the I'm bored wheel? There's the difference. But like, you'll really start to pick up on that. And that's going to show you, okay, these are messages that people are leaning into that I can now feed into my brand consistently all the way around. And that helps you, again, to dial in that formula, take it a step further, make sure that brand weaves together all at once. And I think that is a really great way when you're going through and reviewing the brand, to make sure that it all fits. And then you need to have it reviewed by a business advisor or a brand advisor, or, somebody that can really give you that outside perspective. There's this great quote by Mary Morrissey that says, you can't see the picture when you're inside the frame.
Yeah.
And so if you're the one in it, even talking to ChatGPT, you're still not going to be able to see what are the final moving parts, right, that I need to really dial in and execute on. And so that's that piece of, okay, then you get to refine it with that next layer of outside eyes helping you take that next step.
Yeah.
And for you, if you are listening to this today and this resonates to you and you're like, I know my brand is a hot mess, or maybe it's just a tepid mess. Maybe it's only slightly messy. Good for you. If that is something that you're feeling though, and you're like, I know that I have things that don't match, and you're trying to figure out, where do I even start? We've put together this great quiz for you, an unstoppable brand quiz that will really help you identify what is working, where is the brand consistency dialed in, and where are those weaknesses? So it will really help you take kind of that first step of reviewing things. And from there, you can book a free session with one of us to review the brand and to be able to give that feedback, and help you take that a step further. But, there's all kinds of ways for you to figure out, how do I dial that formula in? One more layer, one more layer, one more layer. And we would be thrilled to help you take that first step of taking the free quiz and really figuring out where to go. And so we're so glad that you joined us this Friday for another session of kind of Q&A and diving deeper. We would love it if you guys would take a moment, like and subscribe, share this with another business owner, share this with a friend that needs to take a step back and review their brand and make sure that they're thinking of all the right pieces. And, we're so glad you joined us today. And at Left Right Labs, we're really here to help you reinvent your brand, your business, and your life. Because ultimately, all of that has that opportunity to just be smoothed out and leveled up. And that's what we're here for. So I'm Trina.
And I'm Gretchen.
And we're Left Right Labs. Thanks so much. Go check out the quiz and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.